Hello and welcome to the Fairy Little Podcast. I'm Marsha, also known as Fairy Little, and this is my podcast all about knitting. Hello and welcome back everybody who's returning, and hello and welcome to everybody who is new and has never tuned into my podcast before. This is me. The first thing I want to say is thank you so much for everybody's amazing support with my new design that came out on the 21st of June. It is the Sorrento shawl and it has done so well. You guys are amazing and I just want to thank you so much. And I actually am thinking that on August 1st, I will start a knit along. And that will give you enough time to get the pattern and give it a read over and pick out some lovely yarn. And we will do a knit along starting August 1st and it will go to September 15th. So it'll go from August 1st to September 15th and it will be a Sorrento shawl knit along. Sorrento shawl knit along, woo! And I will give away a yarn prize and a bag. For the prize, I'm going to make up a bumper prize package. I've been given some very beautiful patterns. Some great designers have also offered up some patterns as prizes as well. So what I'm thinking is I will do a bag and a yarn and also a pattern prize as well. I want to create an amazing little package and I'll just put it together and I want it to be really great. So that will be the prize. And I will, and I have some yarn, lovely yarn here that has been sent to me that I would love to pass on to one of you. And so I'll put the package together and I'll probably show it to you in the next couple weeks so that you can see it before the actual prize draw. I just want it to be something that's really excellent. So, on to the knitting. I have been working on a project that it just doesn't seem to end. And if you've tuned in before, you have seen this blanket and it keeps going and going. And I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago, and I want to get this thing done. I really want it off the needles, but right now it is just this giant hole of knitting. And so I'm not motivated at all to work on it. Isn't it funny how it comes and goes like that? One day you're working on a project and you get a ton done, and then well, for me anyway, it works like that, and then I'm unmotivated and so I really want to get this done, but it just isn't getting done. It's almost to where I'm going to cast it off, though. I think it's going to just be a nice camping blanket wrap that will be good for around the fire, the campfire. But I'm knitting it out of Tumphy, Berlini Tumphy, and it's made in Italy. And it is 50% wool, 50% high bulk acrylic. So this yarn isn't squeaky kind of acrylic. It's just not soft. So it's not a knit of passion or of love. It's a utilitarian knit. And my dad gave me a bunch of this yarn. He gave me, I think, probably about 5 or 6 sweaters worth of this yarn. And so I have knit a sweater or two out of this yarn, and then I chose to make a blanket. And my original plan for this blanket was that it was going to be large enough to fit on a bed. Right now it's wide enough when you lay it out to fit a queen size bed. Like, it is seriously like, if you remember Scylla's blanket of forever, that is my real life happening right now with this thing. And I just want to cast it off. So, but I do want the yardage in it. So I do want to make it larger because, right now is Stash Dash. And although I'm not formally taking part in it, I'm taking part in so much as I am competing against myself and against Glenda from the West Coast Wolves podcast. She doesn't know that. So I've made a hashtag even that she kind of knows that. I made a hashtag that is hashtag don't tell Glenda because it's super funny. So just stay tuned to my Instagram for that, because that's where that hashtag is living right now. Another project I have been working on is using Caterpillar green yarn, and they renamed their company Gauge, and I just saw their new labels and they're very pretty. This is Caterpillar green yarn, and it is from Knit City. And this is from last year's Knit City, not 2016, but 2015. And it is very cool. I actually had a good chunk of this knit. I was almost done. And then when I was working on, I just ripped it out and started knitting something completely different. And it's just a super easy knit. So with Caterpillar green or Gauge, the lady who created this yarn uses math to make it so that as your piece gets larger, it still creates the same size of stripes as you're getting larger and larger. So that is it. It looks amazing and beautiful. And when I started knitting with this, I was knitting a larger than a triangular shaped shawl, but I was knitting it back and forth. And what was happening was on certain sections, there was the change of color wasn't at the ends of the rows, and it was kind of in the middle, and it would give that line of color. When it changes like this, like that line of color between the two. And it was doing that only for certain areas where it was transitioning in color. So I ripped it out, and it was about this, that big. And I just tore the whole thing apart. That's why you guys have never seen it, because I had knit and pulled it apart within like a very short period of time. And so I recast it on and into a circle, but I had realized, and this is the reason I put it down, is because I missed a yarn over. I did something weird in one of the yarn overs that I was doing. See that? That's a mess. So I need to fix that, and it's like looks like it's got to run because I dropped down and I fixed it and tried to fix it, and then I knit it back up, and then it just became worse. So I'm just going to actually pull my needles out, pick up the stitches on just that round, and then rip it back to my needles rip it back to my needles and then start knitting again. And pay closer attention next time. But it was my TV knitting, so that's why I was just, I don't know. It could have been done properly the first time, and then it just looked a little bit wonky, and then after I ripped everything back, it just made it worse. And so this is when knitting fights back. So that right now is living in my Sock Cetra bag that the lovely Shannon from the Sock Cetra podcast made for me, and she gave it to me at Sorrento last year. So it's living in there. It's very happy in there, and it's a cute little bag, and it's nice and squishy, and it fits everywhere. So I'm super happy about that. Thanks, Shannon. And yeah, so that's living in there. I have a finished object to show you. So one of the things that I like to have on the needles is something that I don't have to think about. And to be honest, something that fits the bill is the sock head hat. And I've knit the sock head hat previously, and I knit it using Blue Moon Fiber Arts yarn in the Socks That Rock. And if you have ever knit with it before, the one that I was knitting with was, I think it was either their medium weight or their heavy weight. And it was one of the first hats that I knit using that yarn, or the first hats I knit. Anyway, it was very large and very sloppy on my head, and I still have it, but mostly other people use it. And so I knit myself another one, and I used, this is, hang on a second. This is Sea Turtle Fiber Arts yarn, and it's the sock weight, it's fingering. And this yarn is fantastic because it did not pool. If you love bright colors and you don't like pooling, this is the yarn for you, let me tell you. It was in the graffiti colorway, and so it's a really nice yarn to knit with. This yarn is just amazing to work with. So if you don't like pooling, let me show you this. The sock head hat knit in it. And it is just amazing. Look at that. No pooling. He did such an amazing job with this yarn. And her colors are so bright and unique and just so beautiful. And this one I knit with a smaller size needle because I have a loose gauge, so I knit it with a smaller size needle. And I did the brim longer because I like to have a wider brim anyway. But I did the whole thing longer, so it's got a lot of slouch there. And that's not necessarily something I would always go for, but I do like it. So it's good. I really like it. The yarn was so nice to knit with, and looks good, doesn't it? Like if I ever need to just pull it over my face, not really. There we go. It's the perfect summer hat. Oh my goodness, it looks so funny. So that'll be going away for winter, and I'm really happy with that. So that is finished, and hip hip hooray. So at in Sorrento, my friend Glenda purchased a skein of yarn from West Coast Color that wasn't a color that all of us would normally buy, but it was a color to remind us all of our time there, and this is it. And we all got a little mini skein of the yarn so that we could all take it home and add it to our blankets or make a little thing so that we all have something to remind us of the Sorrento knitting retreat. So that was really cool and really special, and I love this yarn. It's really nice. It's a different base than what I'm knitting with for my my sweater that I'm knitting for my Luella, and this is a base that they're not going to be carrying anymore, but it is really pretty and lovely, so I love it. Something else is that my friend Carla gave me, she just spoiled me rotten, by the way, is I was doing lace while we were sitting there knitting because I was working on my Sorrento shawl when we were at the retreat. And somebody was talking to me, and I said, shh, I'm counting. And she said, well, that's the magic words. And she gave me this cool little pull tab / stitch marker that says, shh, I'm counting. And on the other side, it says, I'd rather be knitting. And I actually have a license plate cover that says I'd rather be knitting. So this is so fitting, and I love it so much. And now I can take it off of here and I can use it. But it's by Flutter Buys, and it's from her Keep Calm series, and it is on Pinterest. So I'll just throw that up there. So if you have a pen and you want to write that down, it's right there. So I'm really excited about that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I'm dropping things. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is when I was at the retreat, I know it sounds like I'm going way back in time, but there's so many things that have happened that I wanted to separate it out over the next few episodes. When I was there, I was taking a circular shawl, like a pie shawl class, and one of the ladies, her name's Susan, and she actually owns Riverstone Yarns. She was sitting beside me, and she had this amazing book that she was using for her design that she was doing. And it's called The Magic of Shetland Lace Knitting. And this book is fabulous. So I actually, sitting beside her, I went online and I ordered it because I needed to have it. And it's beautiful lace, and it is laid out so nicely. It's by Elizabeth Lovick, I want to say. And it talks about different yarns and different stitches and gives you the ideas of how to do the stitches. But also, it has this awesome section in the beginning that tells you all of the stitches that are included in the book, how many stitches of a stitch count it has, and how many rows it takes up. So you can use that to put it into a pie shawl, which is fantastic. It is a great resource to have, and it's called Shetland Lace Knitting. And of course, I purchased that as usual. I purchased that, and I think that was through Amazon as well. So that is all of the things that I have to share with you here. But I would like to take you now to the weekend where I got to go to the Fiberphilia event in New Denver. And so I will send you over to Marcia of the past.
Likes the longer walks.
Oh, she loves it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She upsets her a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're gonna, yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit more open, so it's, yeah, I'll be excited to come. That's the only thing that works for us is, it travels to shows they can do too.
Go for it, yeah. Take a whole other day.
Yeah, I mean,
They're happy. Maybe that's too far. Where are you from? Oh, great. Okay, so. So there we got the celery, Jonas from the island, Julie's from
Keeping the secret yarn.
yeah, that. The Juma was in a pile, and I went to put the tag on, and it all fell down, and Laura didn't see it. She doesn't know about it yet. Yeah, come back. I feel hard.
That's awesome.
What? Oh, the
I just
side
found
of
a
the
secret
road.
yarn.
Marsha?
Hi.
Sorry, I watch your podcast all the time.
Well, hello, we're here in New Denver, and I'm sitting here with Paula from Bad Anna's in Vancouver, and she has gone on an amazing road trip, and it is culminating in this beautiful fiber event, and I have some footage that you will already have seen of a walkthrough of the event, and she's just going to walk us through her store and this trip that she's gone on around BC, and some of her favorite yarns that she's been introducing to people, and some of the tastings that have been going on and what that looks like. So
Great.
take it away.
Thank you so much, Marsha. We have had a lot of fun. This is our last day. We're going to head back to home. Our home is Vancouver, BC. Our shop is in East Vancouver, in Bad Anna's Yarn Store. And we thought, as part of going towards this new fiber festival and being part of it, we'd stop a few different places along the road. And a few things sort of fell together. We had some guilds that have welcomed us to have pop-up shops, and then we also had some yarn stores that we did co-hosted yarn tasting events with along the way. So we ended up with about 9 events in 10 days. So it's been a busy work vacation.
Yeah.
Workation. And we had lots of yarn, lots of fiber, lots of lovely stuff along the way. And Marsha asked me to introduce a couple of the yarns that were just the biggest hits and sort of the most interesting along the trip. And I'd be happy to do so. Excellent. So through the yarn tastings, they're both kind of different events, the yarn tastings versus the pop-up shops. And if you've never been part of a yarn tasting, it's a lot of fun because you get 6 yarns that usually are new or are coming in the fall, like new to the shop or new to the area, and you get about 1/10 of the skein in a little ball format. We give out little free patterns. We love the tin can knits, the little flag patterns, or just little bits that it doesn't really matter what gauge you're at, but it's nice to put your yarn on the needle, try it out, and see how it feels. And while we can talk about what a great mix between a project type and a certain yarn type would be, and why you might choose this yarn or what you might choose it for. So I'm going to introduce you to 2 yarns that you may or may not know already. One of them is a Canadian yarn that's a bit unknown. Some people that know it are pretty familiar with it, and they do great spring and fall and summer lines. I'm going to show you their spring summer lines that do really, really well at our shop once people get to see what they do and get them on the needle. Yeah. Often they're sort of you can pass by them in the store and not notice or not really get a sense of what and why, what makes them so special, but I'll show you. So the company is called Americo. So the first yarn we're going to be looking at is Americo Abrazos. Both of them are going to be cottons or cotton blends, which again, a lot of people just sort of overlook, but as a yarn store, I don't particularly want to have cottons in my store, but you have to have them, and you have to have them in spring. So this is a very tiny, tiny thin cobweb, which people just... cobweb. It's a cobweb lace, thick and thin, and it's made of cotton and bamboo, almost 50-50. Little off cotton, Pima cotton bamboo, super soft. Yeah. But the neat thing about it is, so it's one skein because it's so thin at 4 ounces or 100 grams. It's 940 meters or 1,028 yards. Yeah, so this makes one. You got a one skein shawl out of it. So it makes this huge,
and it's nice and light for
long
spring.
Shawl. That is beautiful and thin and has this neat sort of thick and thin, sort of almost like it was pulled material, like when you catch yourself snag, but it's beautifully interspersed throughout. So it's a beautiful like beach cover up, or because it's cotton and bamboo, it's not warm, so you could actually, if anyone has that need to have a shawl on all year, it works for them. But what people...
and it's really good for people who are sensitive to wool.
Oh, yes.
It's a really great option for those of you who can't use wool. Yeah, and it's got a beautiful drape to it.
Yeah, and what makes it such a draw is because it's, 1 skein, 100 gram skein, it's an easy beach knit or knit on the plane, grab it, put it in your purse, put it on the plane, which you can, most times you'll be able to knit on the plane. Yeah. I've gone all over the world. People are still surprised to hear that even the most intense places like New York and Japan, they allow you to go through. If you're, if you ever have a bad experience about not being allowed to knit, I would think that's just maybe a one time.
I've had that experience, and I've heard some people, but it's only coming back from Mexico.
Really?
That's the only problem I've ever had is coming back from Mexico, and somebody else I talked to, it was Mexico as well.
Oh,
coming back from, not going
worst.
to. Yeah.
So you could always take it off your needles and just sort of hope for the best with it, or bring some needles that you don't care about. But for the most part, I've never had issues. I'd have multiple different projects with different needles. Yeah. Anyways, that's up to you to decide whether or not. But beach knitting, really mindless TV knitting, and it's called a wedding ring shawl because it's so thin it could slide through a wedding ring. That's how thin and light it is. So people love it as a summer spring project. They have some neat colors. They're a neat company. Let me tell you a little about Americo because it's a strange name for a Canadian company, but they're a Toronto company. They've been in business like 20 years or so. They used to have a storefront right in the fashion district of Toronto, up to about a year ago where they decided to focus on the wholesale side. But their company, and the reason they're called Americo, is they're Canadian that go down to Peru and actually go to the farms and go to the mills and make a determination of how they want their yarn to come out and what kind of features they want of their yarn. And all their yarn, just like this one, the thick and thinness of it, the texture of it, that makes that really beautiful effect of this yarn. All their yarn, for the most part, is for beginners. It's beginner and intermediate. Anyone can do it because the yarn does all the work. Yeah. Which is phenomenal.
That's excellent, yeah.
Yeah. And they also have, Americo does a really great pattern support where they have a lot of designers. They have a breadth of patterns for each of their yarn bases, and you can get it free with purchase. So you can either get a paper copy at the yarn store, or we can email you one. Yeah. So you get, you can look through a book of different patterns and go for it. Most people end up doing whatever sample we happen to have in store. But it's great to just have built in almost like a kit. Yeah. And add needles. They have one other yarn that I'm going to show you quickly because it's a cotton flame, and it's a type of yarn you wouldn't necessarily stop and look at in a store because you're like, oh, flame, that's so 80s or whatever. But the feel of it, take a feel of that.
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
And this is the one that I've been putting on everyone's needles during yarn tastings and foremost because you wouldn't know it until you put it through your hands, but it is the most beautiful thing to knit with. It's like knitting with a softer version of raw silk.
Silk, yeah. That's what I was going to say is silk.
Yeah. And you can do, again, you let the yarn do the work. This is a free pattern, not an Americo pattern, but a free pattern on Ravelry called the Clapidus. And the Clapidus is kind of cool. Not everyone. A lot of people have done the Clapidus in a lot of different things. It's great for hand spun, and it's great for this because you see how the drop stitch shows the thick and thin, like shows the interestingness of the yarn, which it would do really great wonders for hand spun as well. So this is a 2 skein shawl, free pattern. Each of these, both the cobweb lace and this one, which is more like lace fingering, they're both about $27 a skein, so totally affordable, which is wonderful. Great way to and affordable and accessible to all by being a beginner.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So we love it, and on the trip we've sold out of. I brought way more than I thought I needed.
Yeah,
I kept some in store because I didn't want to empty the store in any way, but I probably should have brought it all because
it's done really well.
It's done really well. People have been really surprised and loved it.
Yeah,
and they have sweaters,
really nice.
Beginner sweaters, shawls, accessories, and other things, even skirts and stuff as their free pattern.
Yeah, it's got that shine too, right? So
it's
so
gorgeous.
Pretty.
How does it feel in your hands?
Yeah, it does. It feels like silk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, when I was knitting a bit of it, it just felt like knitting gold. It has that sheen and that feel. Oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah, so nice. It's so pretty.
Yeah, so Americo, it's a great Canadian yarn. I'm really proud of it. And the ladies that run the company are phenomenal. They're just lovely, lovely ladies. Okay. They do a lot from Eastern Canada as well. They do a lot of patterns in Canadian living and a few other like celebration patterns as well. So they're quite well known. They have quite a history. So it's really nice. They have some beautiful winter yarns as well, which you could come into the store and we can talk about.
Nice, beautiful.
Yeah. So, and the other one that I presented is my personal favorite, and I get a little carried away when I talk about wool mice, but I love wool mice. So, wool mice is a yarn that you either know or you don't. And I like to say you either know or you just haven't been introduced to it yet.
Yeah.
Because
Paula introduced me to it.
And if you know it, most people love it. There's a few that, for the same reasons, and I'll talk about later, are like, it's okay. But that's few and far between. It is my absolute favorite. So the dyer is called. Their formal name, and excuse my German because she is German, is Rostplatz and Wollmeis. And I'm sure there's a much better way to say that. And it used to be it was a husband-wife team. The Rostplatz part was ironwork, gatework, working in metals, and the wool mice was the yarn. So now it's just known nicely, casually as wool mice. And she's been around for 15 years. She's been really well known for her colors. She has splashing, saturated, gorgeous colors. She's just doing a line of more pastel-y, kind of calm, mellow colors this spring. The reason she's known for colors is she'll have a line of blues. She'll have about 15 to 20 just blues. And they're all, very exacting, very German exactness to them, but they'll all have something very fundamentally different. Like if you think about what color you want, you might be within 3 different colors of hers, but they have like one named colorway might be a blue like a purple or a warm or a red undertone blue, while another blue could be more of a yellow undertone blue that has a more cold feel, but she knows colors. She does them really well. So you can see the two solids. She does these beautiful, beautiful solids that will make gorgeous patterning. But she's mostly known for her multis, which are just gorgeous. You just fall into the colors. And I don't know how well the podcast will be able to show these different colors. But part of it is going to see them in person. And it was so fun bringing them right across the province on our various trips on this road trip to play with the colors. So I'll show this one because it's pretty obvious. So her colors, the multis that she calls, are just phenomenal. They just draw you in. A lot of times people would purchase them and just look and pet them because they're so nice. But it's kind of hard to figure out what to do with multis. But she does them well. So if you like variegated, because they're really truly variegated, these are a go-to staple. The main reason why I love wool mice is the twist on it. And how have you found
I love the twist. It gives really great stitch definition. So I have some DK that I have been swatching with, and the stitch definition is amazing, and it feels so nice to work with. And the other thing that I really like about the DK is that it's 200 gram skeins, and so it is over 400 yards that you get in a DK. So you have the consistency of the color without having to switch to a different to a different skein, right? So,
and I don't know where she gets her bases. She's kept that a pretty good trade secret over the 15 years. So it's a base you'll never see. This twist you won't see on any other yarns. It's very unique to hers, but it's super tight. And because it's super tight, it's a little stiff. So when I said there's a couple people that might not be interested in it, is that it knits up a little stiffer, even though it's 100% merino. But because of that, you have amazing, again, the stitch definition. Even on a plain knit, it's beautiful. But then when you get to a lace, you just see every lace stitch perfectly the way it was the way God intended.
Lace, yeah, exactly.
If you can say that. But yeah, just you see the stitch exactly how the designer intended. And the wear on it. You can wear it 3-4 years and you'll get some pilling, but nothing compared to anything you've seen before. It's so light pilling because it's such a great twist on it. So that's where my love comes from. The little backstory on it is that she used to, up to only a year ago, it was almost impossible to get. So it had a bit of a cult-like following where you have different colors that people have waited years to actually see in person that they know of and she's had available. But because when she started getting known underground, and I say underground because you could only buy them from her website on Etsy, or not on Etsy, on her own website, but online, she would have updates once a week. And here in North America or on the West Coast, it was about 1 or 2 in the morning on Friday in the middle of the night. They would sell out within about a minute. So it was almost impossible to get certain colorways when they came up. About 5 years ago, she allowed one of the larger U.S. stores, online retailers, to have hers in store, and that was the only other place you could get it other than her own shop. But even then, they sold out almost immediately. So they still had this cult following, and she ramped up. She's been working her business plan to wrap up production so she could offer them to some yarn stores, and now she's selectively sort of dropping them in different parts of the world. And
which is really nice.
Yeah, we're the only place in British Columbia you can get them. Canada's been fortunate and has had, I think, 4 or 5 retailers across Canada, but very far apart, which is kind of cool. I think US still only has the one company that is allowed to sell it, so it's pretty neat. So we love this stuff. I absolutely love it. So as Marcia said, the 100 grams, fingering weight skeins, whether it's a sock base or 100% merino base, come in 150 gram skeins. So it's a nice heavy
solid skein.
So you can do 2 knee-high socks or a pair of big socks and little socks, or I can get a full adult X-large sweater out of 2.5 skeins. It's just brilliant stuff. Her worsted come in 200 gram skeins, which are just lovely. This sweater is knit in the worsted, and it just knits beautifully and fast. And then she has these whoppers that we can't keep on the shelf because people love them. These whoppers, show you the 100 gram skeins versus these whoppers. It's a 300 gram skein, so 3 full skeins of lace weight. So this is actually a light fingering. It's called lace, but it is a very heavy lace, and it has 1,700 yards on it, which is lovely. So you could do a full, shoulder to floor duster jacket in one of them, or giant shawl. It's beautiful, and you'll just get the consistency of colors. For something like that, I'd probably recommend a more solid color, but look how pretty this is. Isn't it pretty?
So pretty.
Isn't it pretty?
And you don't have to change skeins. That's the big thing, is that you won't have knots in your knitting.
Yeah. She, as a perfectionist, as a German, if any of her, even the lace skeins, have more than 2 knots, they're considered one-offs or weird difference, what she calls weird difference. She will not sell a named skein that has multiple knots in it. Yeah. And I've seen many of her lace skeins with no knots in it.
Yeah, in my DK, there's no knots.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So that was those were the highlights of our road trip. We've stopped in right throughout Kelowna and the Okanagan, and then along Highway 3 towards the Kootenays. So we had a number of stops, including Kamloops, Kelowna, Summerland, down to Oliver, over to Grand Forks, Castle Garden here in Denver. So it's been a great way to just sort of splash, share our yarn love as we have. And I've been making sure that we complement what yarns are available in the communities. So there's some amazing shops, and on my Instagram account, and I'll also have one long blog posting when I get back, introduction to the different sort of treasure troves of fibery goodness.
Nice.
Whether it's yarn stores or guilds or knitting groups.
So you are starting a online shop as well. Are you going to have wool mice available on the online shop?
It's a really good question. We'll have our entire store on. We've actually managed to change our systems in the store to allow for real-time inventorying, so we'll never sell something we don't have. The only thing is, and we'll have the quantities of wool mice available and the colorways available, but you do have to call in store to get our wool mice, and we'll mail it out to you. We can call, and they just, as a company policy, is one of her sort of tiptoeing into letting stores have it. She's asked for no online sales through a cart, through a shopping cart. So you can do all of it except that one piece. But you can definitely make them available.
Good to know, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're really thrilled, and they're happy to do it that way. Like, they're happy that we sell and we ship, just not through the cart system of it. So we just recently, we're launching it actually as part of the road trip. We're launching it on July 15th in a few weeks. Great to have a deadline, so I have to finish that.
Yep.
But part of the trip was to give an offer of free shipping anywhere in BC to our first 25 orders.
Nice.
Possibly anywhere in Canada. But I think that most of those first orders are going to come from communities that we've been to because they know about this promotion. But anyone that wants to, the first 25 orders that come through will have no shipping, which is awesome.
Yep.
And just gives you a chance to virtually be in fibery bliss.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, and this is great.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see what you knit up with your wool mice.
I know. You're gonna love it.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for welcoming me as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So that is it for me. And I hope you have an amazing week and that your knitting is bringing you nothing but joy. And I will see you soon. Until next time. So, well, Marsha, get on with the show. Maybe I'm writing this down. So for the fries, looks good, doesn't it? Like if I ever need to just pull it over my face.